That woman looks like a freak.
Now at a place where I see Democrats talking about men in general and young men in particular, and I think of them as like Ben Shapiro towards Muslims.
Every sitcom has a man rolling his eyes at his wife because she asks him to take on some childcare responsibility or clean the house or something. And now you're mad that women don't want to continue to be victims and are asserting themselves.
You are essentially implying that high school boys are a protected class, and I cannot, under any regard, see them in that way.
It's amazing.
All right. So that's just a little bit of a taste of what we have coming. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Allison. This is Maintaining Frame number 193. Men are to blame for us blaming them. When women blame men for things, it's men's fault that women are put in the position
of having to. That's emotional labor.
Them. It is, in fact, emotional labor, yes. And we're going to be looking at a video it's a channel. It's called the Bad Faith Podcast. The host is Brianna Joy Gray. And Brianna Joy Gray is an American political commentator, lawyer, political consultant. She used to write for The Intercept. She was part of the Bernie Sanders campaign, and a lot of other things. So very, very much like a, involved, not a small presence in the journalism space. And she has on a couple of guests, one of which is Ella Davey, who is a recent high school graduate. That's the woman at the bottom there. And canvasser for Zoran Mamdani, the recently elected mayor of New York City. And the gentleman is Ryan Grimm. He's a journalist formerly with The Intercept, currently with Dropsite News, and he co-hosts Breaking Points. And the conversation they're having is largely about the male loneliness epidemic. I don't know why I'm putting it in quotes because it's totally like a real problem. But the way that, we'll just let them figure out how they're talking about it. I think that this was sent to me on X. So shout out to, I'm going to find the name, Morgan Balanasser, who sent it to me and said, hi, Brian, at Bad Faith Pod, just had a debate in male loneliness. They didn't really represent the pro-men's side at all. They had someone, that's the man, but he doesn't really know the issues very well. I don't know if you, Alan and Allison, want to cover it. And I thought nothing of it, and then I watched like the first 30 seconds, a little bit more than this. And I was like, wow, we got to talk about it because, I found it interesting. And because we're looking at a high school girl, the one at the bottom. She supposedly represents the youth. She's apparently, she has a nickname, or she's part of a group called Hot Girls for Mamdani. Or she is the hot girl for Mamdani. I'm not sure which of those it is. And so she's sort of like a representative of this kind of political movement of her age group, of the Zoomers, or even the Alphas at this point. And she's talking with these two adults, and the adults, Brianna Joy might be worse than the high school girl. I can at least say, oh, she's naive, but she's a voter. So she has political sway. She can affect the people in her life. And they're having a conversation about men. And I won't spoil it, but we'll see how much empathy they have. But before we get into that, I guess I'll let Allison do the things.
I have so many things to say, but I will first tell you all, if you have something to say, then you can send that through feedthebadger.com/just the tip. It's the very best way for you to send us a tip and a comment if you wish, because you don't have to send your comment through YouTube's comment enhancement system. And we get whatever benefit of the full benefit of the funds, because YouTube doesn't take its gigantic bite. So YouTube will take a bite out of your comment. YouTube will take a bite out of your tip. So if you want to avoid that, go to feedthebadger.com/just the tip. And if you want to support the show for the month, we do have our monthly fundraiser live now, and we have about 10 days left, 9 days left. So feedthebadger.com/support to put your support options in for that and help make sure that we can bring you this content, because I think that we represent the only people that are capable of doing the one thing that's necessary to end this, which is blame women. I, for one, blame women. Nobody can stop me. And I believe that nothing is going to get resolved until we can blame women with the eagerness, freeness, and absolute joy with which we blame everything on men. So that's what I believe. And if you believe that too, feedthebadger.com/support to make sure we can continue to bring you this content, because it is it's heavily suppressed by the powers that be, who don't think that's a good idea. They don't actually want to solve problems. They just want to continue to perpetuate and feed on them. All right. So feedthebadger.com/support to help us out, because we exist because you do that. All right, Brian.
Okay.
Do you want me to
All
say?
right, so let's
my
get
thought?
into. I want to get into this opening section.
Not yet, eh?
No. I want to get into it's like 30 seconds.
Okay.
So I want to let this play out. Well, there's a little bit more of this opening section, because this gives you an idea of what the tone of this is going to be. It's usually like taking like the spiciest things and like throwing them together right at the beginning of the video. So let's do it.
World, no grace. You guys are still running.
Let me go back a little bit, because she did say something there that I thought
Okay.
was relevant.
Every single thing you get no grace.
And they're all miserable.
Brian.
All miserable.
Oh, please.
You guys are at the hands of your
So
own
are we.
destruction.
The speech.
But what did he say?
Could have been.
Well, she said it's a man's world. Let me go back a little bit more, like right here.
Protected class, and I cannot, under any regard, see them in that way.
It's a
Well, that's fine. It doesn't matter, you child. Oh, God, sorry.
What?
It's a man. So she's saying it's a man's world. And what is he
Yeah.
saying?
Well, let's let him say it.
running every single thing you get no grace.
And they're all miserable.
Brian.
All miserable.
Oh, please.
You guys are at the hands of your
So
own
are we.
destruction.
The speech.
So he's saying they're all miserable. She's saying it's a man's world. They have everything. There's no reason for them to be upset. And he says, but they're miserable. Well, he doesn't say but. He says and, which I think is not even nearly argumentative enough. And then she's basically saying, well, they can't even do that. They can't even like be happy despite the fact they have all the power. So, and he's just like unable to respond because he isn't much better. Unfortunately, there really isn't a voice for men in this conversation, no pun intended.
Could have been delivered by a anti-criminal justice reform person verbatim.
No, it couldn't, right?
You're asking-
Girls are not inflicting sexual violence onto young
Okay,
girls.
all right. Can we stop here? Like, we've just gone through a whole bunch of shit that needs to be responded to. I'm just saying. He's right. This entire frame, I love how grinny they are. Okay, I wanted to say one thing. I keep getting accused of radicalizing men. I don't think I'm the woman radicalizing men. I think women grinning, like they're playing pocket pool while talking about the misery of men is radicalizing men. Them saying things like, well, they deserve it because they did it to themselves. The bootstrapping rhetoric, that's radicalizing men. The fact that they can see these women who are a majority of the electorate, and not just vote in their own interests, but a vote against the interests of the other half of the electorate, which is men, and do so with absolute glee and complete assurance that they're doing the right thing, that they're inflicting this harm on men because they deserve it. I mean, in any other world, like if you had half the electorate gleefully saying, oh yeah, we're going to make it worse for the other half, would you blame the other half for thinking about maybe they should be disenfranchised? Because I don't think that I've ever heard men really act so gleeful about anything facing women. I mean, certainly not to this degree. And again, I'm the one radicalizing men, am I? Not this woman grinning over their misery, cackling over their misery like a jackal. Huh? Okay. And then the other thing is that he's absolutely right. The feminist narrative would be considered a supremacist eugenicist narrative if it targeted any other group. And their only alibi for why it's justified when they're targeting men is their whole elaborate conspiracy theory about patriarchy, which, if you judge it on the facts and you judge it on logic and empirical rigor, falls apart like a tissue paper in a frickin' tsunami. Okay, it's just, it evaporates instantly in the face of any kind of empirical rigor. So their framework for why it's justified to be bigoted towards men is false. It is so false. It is the most false thing we have ever asserted as a species. Its falsity is going to carve itself into the archaeological record. It is so false. All right. And this is what they use to justify all their cackling and all their grinning and all their, oh, we're going to use our voting power to make things even worse because we don't even recognize. And even though we say that men have constructed a society that benefits them, and all the evidence that men are actually the buffet of society, all the good things of society, men are not actually grabbing them all for themselves. They're leaving them for women, right? And in fact, they are disproportionately represented in the sacrifices to create the buffet of society, right? All of the evidence of that is just patriarchy backfiring and men doing it to themselves, not counter evidence for their own assertions. This is such a anti-intellectual ball of fuck, right? And I can absolutely 100% sympathize with men who look at it and realize these people vote. And they vote for issues that affect men. And they're categorically incapable of recognizing or accepting that those issues might harm men and saying, I don't want to be part of this society unless these people smarten the hell up or lose their vote. I can 100% sympathize with that. Okay.
Yep.
Oh,
I think actually, now that you mention it, I think that what these people vote for is not just something that will affect men directly, but it is essentially something that men in general are all going to have to build or be a part of the structure of whatever it is they vote for, whatever it is. If they want free housing, if they want medicine, if they want food, SNAP benefits, fucking whatever it is, it's men that's going to do the bulk, the overwhelming majority of the labor that is involved in giving this to these people.
Yes, 100%.
Not just the taxes, which we already know men pay the taxes, or not just that, but like the actual work that comes from that and the enforcement of that on the people who are doing it. All of that's going to come from men. So like I'm sorry, but women's contribution to that is it's
negligible, and it's decreasing because the women who support the system most are married, and that number of women's decreasing, right? So basically, when you look at this in terms of civil service, because these people are talking about the fact that the number of women or young women who want to get married is at an all-time low. Well, girlfriends, beyond the implication for men's loneliness, which you're just going to cackle about and just be like, oh, pat each other over the backs for making men more miserable because that's your great goal in life. Well, there's more of a problem with that, because the only group of women that is generally a net positive to society are married. Okay. Single women, they're hovering, at least they're not a net negative. Single women with children, a gigantic net negative. And the number of women who are drawing from the system instead of putting into the system is increasing. So the number of women who are married and have any kind of positive input to the system is decreasing. And the number of women who don't, who are single, who vote for all of these policies that everyone else has to underwrite, is increasing. So married women's decreasing, single women are increasing. Single women are a net drag on society. They are a net negative to the tax base. They're a net negative for getting things done. Everybody is subsidizing their asses. including married women. And now more young women want to enter those roles. They want to enter the demographic that contributes least to society. And the rest of us are not happy with that. I wonder why. I mean, these women, I don't know, have they ever paid taxes in their lives? Either of them?
Probably on their Sephora bag, or they saw something get taken out of their paycheck. But when you but again, if you look at the big picture of like where most of that money is coming from, it's not women. But okay, so I picked
Yeah, but
what I did was
let's be honest here, Brian. There is a
Mm.
distinct difference between a woman who is married
yes.
and is part of a system incentivizing a married man to provide more to the state and also creating the future of our civilization by having children, and a single mother who is producing demographic collapse and dangerous individuals. I mean, not all, but a substantially greater majority of such individuals come from single mother households. So, you know, there's one route for womanhood that's actually productive and socially responsible, and there's one route that isn't. And these women are celebrating women taking the route that isn't in a system that's increasingly failing. All right?
Mhm.
And there's a difference there. And yes, I know men are primarily responsible for the taxes, but women are primarily responsible for sort of marrying men and putting them from the single category, which they contribute about as much as single women without children, because those women don't really draw a lot from welfare and other benefits either, and married women and married men. Like they are the ones who are marrying the men and putting them in the category that is the largest taxpayer. Okay. And a lot of the tax deductions for marriage aren't that great. Maybe when you have children, but otherwise, no. All right. So this is in fact, if myself and my husband live separately, we would get more in personal tax deductions than as a married couple. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So, but the point is that married men contribute the most. Married women contribute less than married men, but on the other hand, they're also the reason why married men are married men, and they're contributing the incentive structure of having children and having a wife for the married men. So they are contributing. Like, can we at least acknowledge that? Because we got to have a pathway forward. And then we have single women and single men who are contributing about the same amount in terms of taxes, with single women without children not really drawing as much on social services. And then we have single mothers. Now, the real problem with single women and single men is that they vote Democrat, which enables single mothers to continue to predate on the rest of us. And now we have these people celebrating this problem getting worse.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So I found the time codes that become the most argumentative.
Okay.
So that and there's a few of those, but I figured that would be a good way to break it down. So let's get into this. Is 420. Well, yeah, it's like 420. They get into a tweet that's somebody
Survey
made.
he cited from 2022. Now, in response,
Let me go back a little bit. Sorry, it's like 416.
percent of 12th grade girls that say they want to get married has dropped over 20 points over the last 30 years, while the boys' interest in getting married has stayed about the same. Wilcox framed this trend as, quote, disastrous, because he says married women do better than unmarried women. They have more assets in midlife. They are less lonely, and they're twice as likely to be happy, according to
I don't give a crap.
social survey.
I don't give a crap. Married women pay more in taxes. Right? They incentivize married men who pay the most in taxes. They are not a net drain on society. The end. I don't give a crap about their happiness. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Get your big girl panties on and enter the adult world.
I got a super chat from Albatross. Thank you, Albatross. And he says, kind of off topic, but the episode from Wednesday about how people respond to vulnerable women kind of reminds me of cuckoo birds, chicks manipulating their host parents into forfeiting their own chicks. Thank you for that. Okay.
He cited from 2022. Now, in response, Jill Filipovich, who you might know as a sort of liberal columnist and kind of a frequent gadfly to the left, quoted Wilcox writing, quote, "Might be worth asking what it is about high school boys that girls don't find appealing. I have a feeling the list is long and informative."
So they're talking about like what, that girls are not interested in boys according to some survey. And
Suck it up.
of course it's because of something that boys are doing.
Yeah, suck it up.
Yeah.
You don't
Like,
get
what
to
are boys
suck
not
on
doing
the
right?
rest of
Teenage
society.
boys. Like, yeah,
Just
the
suck it up.
future. All right.
At this point, Ryan Grimm jumps in saying, to Jill, "There's no place for this kind of bigotry in decent society. No decent person on the left would ever dream of saying something that's hateful toward all girls, and it's not okay to say about boys." And at this point, Ella, who again is a recent high school graduate and closer to this than any of us involved so far, tweeted, "I graduated high school 6 months ago and can confidently tell you that a third of high school boys at maximum see girls/women as people." And she followed up with a specific example.
Bullshit.
A third.
Only a third see women as people. Well, maybe you're not acting like people. Huh? You ever consider that?
I mean, these
Maybe
are
you're not-
just like, who knows how reliable
Yeah, this
any
is
of
all
these studies
irrelevant.
are, so it's kind of stupid, but they're
It isn't a
using it to
study, it's just
launch into
somebody's
this conversation. Sorry, go ahead.
It's just somebody's opinion. Like, this is
Yeah.
basically just somebody decided to beak off about this, and there's nothing behind it. Right? And the amount of teenage girls who blame everything on boys and invest in a narrative that would be considered bigotry if they targeted any other group of people is far higher than the reverse. How about we start right there?
Mhm.
Teenage girls' attitudes towards boys have declined. And maybe this isn't their fault because it's declined under an overwhelming narrative, highly visible, highly pushed narrative, an utterly false narrative that boys and men are to blame for victimizing girls. Right? So this whole thing is like, how many girls actually treat boys like human beings? You're going to say 1/3 of boys only treat women and girls as human beings, as people? Well, how about the reverse? Right? How many of you treat boys, young men, as human beings rather than problems?
Yep. Problems that need solving, right?
Yeah, problems
so
that need
there's-
solving.
Yes. So there's a bit more of this because they're going to get in there. They're just sort of like setting up the conversation. So
Happened at her high school that we'll get into shortly. I want to start with you, Ella. What did you think when you saw how folks were reacting to the Jill Filipovich tweet, and what provoked you to want to get into the mix?
I think that when we talk about young women not finding young men appealing, we're talking about the massive rightward shift, actually, that we've been witnessing among young men paired with.
So remember, this Ella girl, she's in high school, or she's graduating. I'm not sure, but she's like very young, and
Mhm.
but she's politically active, like very politically active, and she is a Mamdani like organizer. So she was involved in organizing the campaign or helping with the campaign to get Zoran Mamdani elected mayor of New York City. So she's got a specific worldview, let's just say, and
Mhm.
it's a very, very feminist, in fact, intersectional. So she's basically like saying, I have this worldview. I saw data that shows that boys are moving right. This is why they're unattractive, because they don't have my politics. So I think that's like what she's getting at. But let's listen.
The pre-existing dehumanization of women we already see throughout society, including within the left. And I often see critique or inquiry into the behavior of young men being characterized as bigotry, which kind
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is 100% bigotry. And the only thing that makes you think it isn't is a lie. A lie that you can even see these women debunking as they speak, right? Men create society. Men in authority create society for men's own benefit at the expense of women. This man, as milquetoast as he is, mentions, but men, these are the things that men aren't being benefited by. And the woman cackles and says, that's their own fault. Yes, bitch. Because men enforce sacrifice on other men, leading to worse outcomes for men. Why? In order to make sure women are protected and provided for. That is not patriarchy backfiring. That is literally the purpose of civilization. And they cackle, but they recognize it and then they deflect it, apparently unaware that that is the counter evidence for their own assertions. So this woman is saying, oh, I can't see that as bigotry. Well, of course it's bigotry. The only excuse for it is false. You're going to say, oh, but it's because of patriarchy. We get to be bigoted towards boys. Well, patriarchy, as feminists frame it, is a lie. It's a lie. So you have no excuse. And yes, it's bigotry.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Cheapens the word, especially when the word bigotry should be used to describe the appalling behavior that young men inflict onto young women on a daily basis. I like you.
So she's saying the word bigotry is being, when you say that women are being bigoted to men or boys in this example, and you call it bigotry, you're actually taking power, or you're making the word less impactful. So she's admitting to the negative sum game, but not because she doesn't think it's a good thing, because it should only be used when talking about women, even if it's in the mildest sense, right? If you're trolling a woman online by saying we control your bodies, right? That is bigotry. That's where it really belongs. So that's where it really matters. But if you're basically telling boys they don't matter and they kill themselves, you can't call that bigoted, because it makes the word mean less when it's used in defense of boys or to criticize people who are bigoted towards boys. So yeah, bigotry is a gendered term, guys.
I graduated high school 6 months ago, right at the peak of Andrew Tate's rise. I saw my peers be indoctrinated by Andrew Tate, Nick Fuentes. The language.
Unsubstantiated.
What?
It's unsubstantiated what she's saying.
No, she's just saying they got indoctrinated. Did you guys know that Andrew Tate has mental powers like Professor X? That's why he's bald, because he's a mutant with psychic powers to make men hate women. Even though Andrew Tate's entire empire is built on appealing to women, and Nick Fuentes is a virgin, intentionally. He's celibate. But these guys are the worst enemies of women, don't you know?
Okay.
It doesn't even make sense. But this is just, again, all she's doing.
A narrative.
For the record, it's an invocation. She says their names to put you in an emotional state of fear, because you're taught to fear those names. If it weren't those guys, if those guys exploded and died tomorrow, she would just be saying somebody else. She'd say Jordan Peterson, who's basically nothing like Andrew Tate, but it doesn't matter.
Jordan Peterson and Warren Farrell.
It's just it'd be Warren Farrell, it'd be Paul Elam, it'd be Steve Bannon, it'd be JD Vance, it'd be, fucking, what's the Indian guy that ran, Vivek Ramaswamy. It doesn't matter. It's just somebody, So anyway. All right. That's the first. So you want me to see if there's a reaction to this?
Yeah, sure. I'm just wondering where she talks about the sexual assault statistics, because as everybody knows, I've been watching those like a hawk for 20 years. So I
No,
want to get on that. Is that
okay,
only
let's
at the
see.
beginning?
No, it's no. The beginning was like a little bit of a, what do you call it? A sizzle reel with a bunch of little
Oh yeah,
clips. It's
yeah.
in
Okay,
here.
gotcha. No,
Okay.
I can also find the time code as well. So
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Okay.
The sexual violence that these young men think is okay is disturbing, and the sooner that the left and right accept.
No, she's just saying that they assert sexual violence because
Yeah, bullshit. Like
yeah,
honestly.
sure.
Okay. First of all, let's address the men's flight to the right. No. You are running full tilt to the left. And men are going slightly left, but a little less fast. That's not a flight to the
Slightly
right.
right.
Yeah,
It's
they
very
can
mild.
slightly
It's
right.
very moderate.
Yeah.
They're very
Like
moderate.
they're like center right.
Mhm.
Young men have gone center right. Right? And you guys have gone radically left. So from where you're looking, men look like they're far right, but they're actually only center right. Okay, that's it. And you can't even handle that level of disagreement. This is the other issue with all of this. And this is the political issue. All right? Conservative and liberal are functions. Women have turned them into political tribes. Okay? And I know this sounds really strange, what I'm saying, but conservative is a set of very necessary virtues, what you sacrifice for, what you uphold. Liberal is also a set of very necessary virtues, what you sacrifice and what you uphold. Jordan Peterson would echo what I'm saying. Okay? And in order to have an advanced society that can both respond to new circumstance and retain a sense of itself, you need both. Okay, you need self-doubt that allows you to change how you respond to things, and you also need loyalty to the things that work. And the things that make you who you are. But both of these are forms of sacrifice. Self-sacrifice and doubting yourself, which, postmodernism can be seen as like an extreme element of, at least the way they use it now. And then also self-sacrifice in terms of duty and responsibility to tradition, right? These are the virtues of both. And you need both in a kind of synergistic thing going forward to have a society that is not stagnant and is not imploding. Okay? So that's what you need. These are functions. That's what I want to get across. Now, I don't think that the left function or the liberal function is in any way being done by the political tribalists who call themselves the left now. They just completely abandoned it, and what they are is political tribalists, right? And this woman is a political tribalist. She recognizes nothing legitimate in the function conservative. Nothing. She thinks that politics are a way of determining who you exclude, not who you work with, because they have a set of skills that you don't. Like, people think that I'm conservative, but the reason why I think they do, and I don't have a problem with being called conservative, aside from the fact that it's not really the function that resonates with, is because I recognize the importance of the conservative position. I recognize the importance of what they say and how they think and the virtues that they espouse. And I get called conservative because of that, even though I also recognize the virtues of the liberal position and what they sacrifice and what they espouse, right? A true liberal position. Okay. I recognize both sides. I get called conservative because I don't think that someone having that particular set, or even calling or identifying based on that particular set of values and functions, is a bad person. Right? That is a person I want to have debates with. I want to have discussions with, that I feel is a necessary ballast to whatever craziness that I'm going to propose. Right? That's what I mean. It's a synergy. And she takes that, and like a woman, and women in particular this is what they do. She turns it into a reason to exclude people from the conversation. There is absolutely no legitimacy to someone saying, well, young men are center right, therefore they should be excluded from society.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell society do you think that's going to construct, lady? A gigantic echo chamber of people like you whose entire political outlook is, who do I exclude today? Ugh.
Well,
I hope
she's
they're gonna
really
end
young. I
this.
think that ironically, I think she's the one that's indoctrinated, because the truth is, when it comes to liberal and conservative, no one on earth is all of one or the other.
Yes,
Everyone
that's the other
has
thing.
everyone has a degree of openness to new ideas and a desire to hold on to or to preserve some old ideas that worked. I mean, some people are not rational or whatever, but that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that they don't have like it's bookends. That's what it is. It's bookends on most, and everyone has it. Like
Yeah.
you can push a leftist to the point where you will get them to be conservative on an
Well,
issue.
you just have to bring up men's issues, and then they
Yeah, bring up men's
instantaneously
issues. Exactly.
become
Just
the
do that.
stereotype
So,
of
like,
conservatives.
the thing is, it's not all of one or the other. No one's like that. It's just that's just not true. But I think that the problem is that, like you said, and I think it's true, it's that these women have turned this into a tribe instead of a set
Function.
of values that have some flexibility, right? And they're extremely inflexible in their desire or their addiction to pushing for the most, like, what they believe to be the best value system, because that's what they've made it, is that they're like, we are the good people that believe the good things, therefore
Yes.
anybody who opposes us are the bad people that believe the bad
Yes.
things. And it's that simplistic. And this is why they inevitably push their own out, because they eventually get to a point where someone isn't good enough and then they immediately become bad. It's like, when men are shifting in a reasonable sense, slightly right, they're like, well, we got to hold back on, immigration, and I don't think you should be aborting every baby up until 9 months, and I don't think we should be paying for everything, like, and I don't want to go to war in Ukraine or in the Middle East, so I want to, like, pull back on that. And women are like, what's wrong with you? Why are you oppressing us? Like, it doesn't even register that that's reasonable. They just see that as far right. And it's I don't know. I think women have, a lot of them have drank the Kool-Aid, especially childless or single moms, but especially the childless women. I just saw, like, and it's not in this video, but there was a data point that came out and showed that it was, I think it was on Based Camp with Malcolm and Simone, and they saw that, like, single women, like young single women, were like the biggest pushers of these sort of like socialist, politicians, because they're not invested in the future. They see themselves as deserving of these things, like whatever the free stuff is, and they don't know what, like, the long term, there's nothing to draw from in terms of, like, wisdom, because they don't respect anybody else, especially people like men who might, like, know where this is going, or maybe are old enough to have some experience and say, well, this isn't a good idea. So then but yeah, so I think that's like just like showing where I think this comes from. But
well, I mean, even if there's flexibility, some people tend to be orientated to one versus the other, but they're more like functions, and a set of virtues and a set of functions. And women like this, and it's mostly women, because even liberal men, even men on the left, are more likely to be less censorious than women on the left.
Yeah,
So
because they're still men. They're on some level. Yeah. No, I
they
get it.
still resonate with this kind of honorable opponent kind of thing that men do. And they can still to agree, they can still recognize the right to speak. Now, everybody's too censorious in this day and age, but regardless, it still is very much a male versus female thing. Not being censorious to your opponent is more of a masculine virtue. And it's because men embrace the risk of uncertainty and not knowing everything. And that's the thing. Like, this political tribalism is driven by deep insecurity and deep self-hatred, in my opinion, because they want to reject, and it's almost like they're rejecting parts of themselves. This internal constant process of rejecting, throwing parts of themselves they don't like on others and then rejecting them. And it's extremely dangerous, This political tribalism is extremely dangerous. And that's what she's showing. So right off the bat, she is morally bankrupt because instead of showing tolerance to other viewpoints, she's showing abject intolerance and political tribalism. And once you get too much of that in your political system, it breaks down. And then everything else is a slow slide to violence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
so, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think that I have some. Look, I'll just say this: she's 18 years old. I think that she's getting like gassed up by like adults around her. I don't think
no
that
doubt.
she's doing this of her own choice. So I think that there's like she is she's being used by people. People like the people who host this show, especially the woman here, Brianna Gray. So but yeah, I mean, like her whole like I don't know if I want to call it pity, but I can tell that this 18-year-old girl is being used, and she's like spitting out all the talking points, and she doesn't really know what the counter examples are, and it's like a regurgitation of her programming, and that's all we're getting from her. So I look at her like a vehicle for this narrative, the threat narrative around men. So
yeah.
But anyway,
that this is like a public health issue, the sooner that we can start to address it.
Public health issue?
That's interesting.
yeah, she wants to address it. It's a public health issue, this misogyny.
Misogyny is a public health issue, and misogyny is men not having the same political opinion as me. Okay. Okay. All right. This is massive political tribalism. And this individual, you are looking at the face of the destruction of Western civilization.
Yeah.
Literally. This vapid puppet votes. And she votes for political tribalism. And she probably she probably thinks she's voting for good things because people should be nice to each other. And being nice means agreeing with me. Oh, good Lord.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
All right. Let's get Brianna Gray's reaction.
I have to confess that for me, the knowledge of Andrew Tate and Nick Fuentes and their influence on younger people in particular is all very anthropological, something that I'm reading about third hand on the internet.
What?
Can you help us understand?
She doesn't have any anthropological. That's how she said it. Yeah.
The silverback Andrew Tate gathers up.
Yeah. All right.
What it's like to have your peers in a sort of normalized way genuinely consuming this kind of content? I mean, how do you know? How are they expressing themselves? What's it like?
So she's asking her like, what's the evidence? Like, how do you know this is like how it's affecting her? And then she's going to respond to that.
I mean, of course, from like outside of class discussions centered around feminism on gender studies, you can see this behavior manifest itself through casual conversations, locker room talk.
Whoa, slow down, Missy. So you're engaging a lot of young men in casual conversations about feminism and the genders, and you're slipping into the locker rooms with the young men and listening to them have these talks. I mean, I press X to doubt.
No, I think that again. I think it's buzzwords. Locker room talk is a buzzword term. She's not physically in the locker room. She's overhearing conversations, or she's like gaslighting herself into thinking conversations are taking place that aren't. But like this, what I'm like, look, imagine you're an 18-year-old girl. I was in high school when I was 18. I graduated. And I never had a bunch of like adults come around me, tell me how awesome I was, and then push me into like political activism. And probably she gets money or grants. She does like a massive social media presence. Like it goes.
She has a
like,
massive social media presence.
If you gas somebody up that's that young, don't you think you could go to their head immediately and turn them into like
she's gonna just say whatever
where they think that they're just like the smartest, the brightest, the best person, because everyone's telling them that. Yes. And you have like this big following. Like they call her hot girl for Mom Zoran. That's that's what they call her. Okay. She's not even mid, but that's what they call her. So it goes right to their heads. And I think that she is going to like get a status that is unearned, and then when she is put in front of cameras or sat down on a podcast, this one has about 200,000 subscribers, so not small.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, tell us what you think. They're just like eagerly listening to what this 18-year-old girl has to say about like the absolute state of the entire country. She's going to like try to say something satisfying, and yeah, maybe some bullshit words are going to come out. But what I'm saying is this person is being used. Now, I'm not saying she's a victim, but I'm telling you, we have to look at her as an 18-year-old girl that's been put in this position. I'm not saying that I'm not calling her a victim, but I'm saying that the adults are the problem because they're creating people like this. Okay,
fair enough, but she's 18. Now she gets to deal with people like me because I'm going to have opinions on what she's saying.
Again, I'm not saying that we shouldn't I'm not saying that we shouldn't treat her like an adult because she is legally an adult. I'm not saying that. I'm saying her ideas are not hers. That's what I'm saying.
Obviously.
You know what I'm saying? Her ideas are not her own. She's not like if you like held her feet to the fire and you debated her, she would fall apart like a Jenga tower. Okay, because no, seriously, because she doesn't.
I agree.
She doesn't have arguments. She doesn't even rationalize them. She just says locker room talk, misogyny, sexism, Nick Fuentes, Andrew Tate.
Yeah, like checking off a list.
Like that's what she does. She's just saying what she's supposed to say, and they're giving her this platform. You see what I'm saying?
This is what I said at the Calgary Expo when I spoke to the women at the because this is what I saw. It was a repetition of the same talking points. It's just donning the ball gown of victimhood, and sashaying her. How appropriate! She has a ball gown in the background, but yeah, just sashaying around in the ball gown of victimhood.
That was a curtain.
No, I think it's got some pleating, so I don't think that's a curtain.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, maybe it is. Well, who knows?
Well,
all right.
This is what I'm saying is that we're not arguing with her. We're arguing with this thing that informed her, this thing that told her what to say. Okay. So anyway,
can we move on?
Yeah.
Men treat their girlfriends, the way they talk about them behind their backs, the way that young men socialize with each other. It's not only something that is like very political and politically focused for these young men, it's also now social. They're being socialized to not see.
Okay, how is this different than it's ever been? Like feminism has accused men of men and boys of having masculine ideology for eternity. So what, or since I don't know, probably the 80s, that when they developed that particular term. So how is it different? I mean, I've always said that men are being inoculated in patriarchy. Specifically, feminism has said that masculine ideology is responsible for men using rape and beatings to uphold patriarchy. And they've been saying this since the 70s, at least. Okay, so how is this different? How is this suddenly something that's happening when it's always been happening? I mean, this is the thing. Have you noticed that? Like feminists every freaking 5 years, this thing that's always been happening is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, they have to fearmonger around it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they have to make it look like it's an impending doom. And when it doesn't result in doom, they just sort of bring it back later and they say, no, this time it's happening for real. Like,
yeah, but here, like everything that Nick Fuentes and Andrew Tate say isn't even in the same ballpark of what feminists say. Sport. Yeah, of what feminists say that men teach each other in patriarchy.
It's like Little League versus the fucking
but here's the thing. Like the standard that feminists have put on masculine ideology and how patriarchy allegedly socializes men, except that it's like, and I actually talked to the guy who's doing a criminology PhD last night, and he said it's not just like this socialization that feminists say is applied to men isn't just a 100% penetration across cultural, ethnic, religious, national, racial boundaries. It is a 100% penetration across the what is it, the genre or the genus Mammalia. Like, it's cross species. So this cultural socialization that feminists allege is being applied to men is cross species. It's not just men. It crosses species lines. You didn't know that you shared a culture with ducks, guys? You shared masculine ideology with ducks? Did you know that? That's why it's so absurd. But anyway,
Yeah.
my overall point is that what feminists say patriarchy teaches men and is conveying to men through this socialization that crosses species lines somehow is that rape and beatings is how you keep them women's under control. So that's the bar for what feminism says is being taught to men. Now, I haven't listened to all of what Andrew Tate has said or Nick Fuentes, but I'm pretty sure if this is the bar for what feminism says patriarchy teaches men, they're not anywhere near it in terms of their overt messaging. Okay?
No, not at all.
No. So wouldn't that be an improvement?
All right. So absolute cinema. So all right. Let's play some more and then we're going to move on to an argument that they have with the man.
Focused for these young men, it's also now social. They're being socialized to not see young women as people. They're being socialized to dehumanize them, to see them as arm candy, as hoes, as thoughts, as something to
you mean
conquer.
Basically what feminism accused patriarchy of since the 70s and worse? Like, all of these things are not actually dehumanizing because arm candy is a human.
Arm
right?
candy. Arm candy.
Arm candy is
Arm
a human.
candy. That's what she's saying. Arm candy, you know, when you have a one on your arm.
Yeah,
You know
I
what
know,
arm
but that's
candy
still a
is?
human being, unless you're
Oh,
talking
sure
about
it
a
is.
parrot,
Of course. No, of course.
an extremely colorful parrot. You know, that could be considered arm candy. But
Here's a
generally,
question though. Like, they have girlfriends. So, like, what those girlfriends? Do they hate being seen as arm candy? Like if they say, oh, they see us as hoes and thoughts. Well, I don't know. Are they hoes and thoughts? Like, I thought that was something we're supposed to celebrate now.
yeah.
I mean, what if they're?
What is
I
it?
really don't know the context, but it sounds like you are attacking hoes. Like, we don't do slut shaming in this house. I'm just saying though, like, you know, like, look, I did substitute teaching, and I'm telling you, like, girls as young as 12 were sexually active, and they were looking at multiple boys all the time, and they were on TikTok and Snapchat and stuff, and I had to take their phones away from them. And so, like, if you're 18, like, I'm sorry, but I bet that the dynamic is very different. So what I'm guessing that you're saying is that women are behaving however they behave, and I don't have an opinion on that, but men who acknowledge the reality of the way women are behaving are the problem. So if a woman is being promiscuous and a man is saying, I'm not into that, I think she's a thought, that's the problem is that he thinks that, not that she's doing that.
Okay, and that actually would speak to the idea that what's really the problem is men standing in judgment of women. Yeah,
Yes.
that's the real problem. Is that
why would a boy have any cause to call someone something without, like, for no reason at all if he's wrong, unless it's just to fuck with her, like they're friends or whatever.
Yeah. Well,
Right?
I mean, they could
But
also
even if
be
it's to fuck with
bullying.
her, that's not hate.
Yeah, it's just general,
Trolling.
Kid bullying, which is women do it or girls do it, and they do a lot of it. And when they do it, it's a lot more devastating. But we don't want to discuss that, right? We can't talk about that. So we're just looking at this. And you're right. A lot of these girls are probably behaving in that way. They're behaving like they want to be arm candy and like they want to be thoughts and whores. And then the boys are identifying the behavior. But boys cannot stand in judgment of girls. That's misogyny. If boys have an opinion on girls' behavior, that's misogyny. But of course, girls are free to have even ridiculously unsupported, bigoted opinions on boys' behavior where that they aren't even actually doing. Because I'm pretty sure, is this where she starts talking about the sexual violence? Because I really want to get into that, because that I have actual statistics for. Everything else that we're talking about is just vague feelies.
That's not when she talks about that. I think it's a little bit later.
Okay.
I thought you were gonna look it up, but here's the Ryan Grimm.
And maybe it's easier to understand. Like if you said something, if you saw Ben Shapiro say something similar about Muslims, you would not say, oh, he's just asking what structural social forces are at work that have produced the problems that.
So what he's trying to do is he's playing devil's advocate poorly, but he's basically like, the way you guys are talking about, because remember, these are all progressives, this whole panel, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So he's saying the way you guys are talking about men sounds like the way someone like Ben Shapiro, who is a conservative Jew, talks about Muslims, okay? Now, of course, I think this woman, this girl, this teenager is Muslim, which is why she's like a pro-Mamdani person. So he's trying to frame it in a way that she will be able to see it, right? Like, oh, look, the way that Islamophobes talk about you is how you're talking about men. That's what he's doing. Okay. So I'm just letting you know what the context is. And let's see if this works, this tactic.
He's identifying with Muslims in this post. You'd be like, no, he's being a bigot. If Matt Walsh was saying it about black people or about immigrants, you wouldn't be like, well, Matt Walsh just wants, us to look at just the social constructs of our race relations here in the United States so that we can improve them, find policy solutions. And then he really actually is, has the best interests of this group that he is maligning at heart. Nobody would think that. And so I'm now at a place where I see Democrats talking about men in general and young men in particular, and I think of them as like Ben Shapiro towards Muslims. Like that's where I am at this point.
Look at Brianna Gray looking really like, oh, I can't believe you're doing this.
Wow, that's
you're trying
edgy.
to have men
actually.
as victims of bigotry. Like you're trying to claim that I could be bigoted to men, which is what he's trying to do. Yeah, it's
we'll never be able to address this problem until we get rid of the narrative that men are uniquely to blame for society and creating society for their own benefit. We're never going to address this problem.
No.
And it's
Richard
just going to
gave
get
us a
worse.
super chat, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
I did find the time codes for when she discusses sexual assault. Why don't we go through your time codes and we'll get into that, because I know that I will probably go at length.
All right.
Debunking all of the nonsense that she spews.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Richard Beer gives us $5 and says, could we please have the Raven Moondragon response to this child? Okay. He's just hooked on that character. Okay, whatever. Anyway.
And
she's laughing.
Feeling that? Like a lot of people are feeling that. And it's a problem. I think everything Ella said is correct, that the right-wing takeover of the manosphere, the right-wing socialization of
it's
men.
not a right-wing take. Oh.
Well, look, yeah, I know, Allison. It's just men saying that's enough. This is the thing. It's just men walking off the plantation.
It's not even that. Can I just get this out before it escapes my brain? They've literally said the problem is men. Like that's literally what they've said on the political tribalist side. The problem is men. Masculinity is the problem. And then when men leave and are like, well, I'm tired of being seen as the problem, they say that's our opponents. And
yeah,
how
they
dare
did that.
they?
Right.
You did that. Like literally, if a man just says, I think I'm okay and I want to exist, you are part of the manosphere, you are part of the far right, and you are part of the problem. And if you just exist as a man, you're part of the problem. But if you're quizzling about it, if you constantly submit to feminism, then you can briefly feel moments of not being the problem. But like literally, they declare men the problem, and then they're surprised. Well, where do the men go? Why are they over there? And it's not even that the men are on the right. They're just not where they are. Like,
Yeah, well,
we've
what
caned
right
men
is.
constantly.
Not what
Why
they
did
are.
they move over there where we can't cane them? Like,
yeah, that's why I don't call it the right. I call it the non-left. It's the these people. But I
non-left,
think
yeah.
that like
Non-tribalist.
yeah, they basically said we don't need you. You're useless. And they did this until men said, okay, we're going to leave. And they were like, wait, you're not supposed to do that. So like they didn't think that men were just going to just leave, which is what I mean by like leaving
Yeah.
the plantation. Like they didn't think they were just going to stop kowtowing, stop obeying, stop self-flagellating. They didn't think that was going to happen. They didn't even, they just took it for granted to that degree, while also claiming they were ready to, that men would do this at like they were going to be turn on them and oppress them and kill them and rape them and, you know, force them into breeding houses or whatever sick fantasies they have. And when men said basically what Carl said to Jess Phillips, I wouldn't even rape you, and then left, they're all butthurt now. So yeah. Anyway, but look, important to note that this is a political podcast, so they are talking in a political framework, which is probably part of the reason why they can't solve this problem.
Yeah,
because they're like the entire beast that they live in from the ground up is anti-male. It just is by its nature. And this guy, he hasn't realized it yet, but he's like, we have to fix this, not because of for men's sake, not because men are committing suicide, not because nobody's getting married, but because I want the men voting too, for us. So how do I get them voting for us? Which is the same mistake. You just can't get out of it. You are trapped. You're stuck because you can't solve the problem unless you fundamentally alter like where you guys are at with stuff.
Causing huge problems for them and for their potential now like unlikely partners, and they're going to be miserable too. Like I think it's all bad, but then the question is, what do you do about it? And to figure out what you do about it, you also have to look at what happened over the last decade or so. You know, this
is funny. He's literally in the party of we hate men. Like literally in the party of we hate men. He's like, this is a problem that you hate men. And they're like, nope, this is the solution.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
No, I want to. This is where it gets good because he's trying to. I sense.
Look at that face on that girl.
Yeah. Look at them both. I sense the fear in this guy. He's like a chicken trying to make a deal with coyotes. These two coyotes. He's like, guys, or foxes. Okay, check it out. I know you're hungry, but hear me out, guys.
Oh man.
I eat birdseed. It's pretty good once you get used to it. No, but all right, let's listen to some more.
Maybe you could take a thigh instead of the entire me.
Yeah, right. How about just a foot?
It's a engineered and organized campaign on the part of the right to organize men into these reactionary spaces and to take over spaces that were apolitical. Sports, gambling, supplements, weightlifting.
They didn't take over these. What the?
It's funny too because they think that, well, they can't believe that they could have caused this. So it must be that our opponents did something, and the opponents literally did nothing. They're doing the same thing they've always done, and it just so happens that men are like, well, at least these people don't hate us. But we can stand in a room with them. We don't even like them very much, but we don't hate them either. And they're like, why don't you hate those people? You must be one of them.
Yeah. Like literally, these are just things that interest men. And because this is the party of I hate men, Things that interest men are potential vectors of evil into the world. Look at the women, just good Lord.
They're not happy with this
There's
at
a
all.
lot of grinding of teeth going on in this panel.
Yep.
How dare
them and politicize them to the right. Like, so they effectively did that. But then
no. Okay, but you got the entire thing wrong, dude. You're saying, oh, the right took over supplements. No, the right did not take over supplements. What happened is, for whatever reason, the left, the political tribalists, I will call them the political tribalists, have embraced this narrative that human beings are actually the cattle of the government. For whatever reason, women like that narrative a lot, possibly because they're more interested in controlling their neighbors than being free, right? And one of the things that the government doesn't like is supplements, is people actually keeping themselves healthy in ways that they can't make money off of. I mean, that's my theory. But also, like, all of these other things were just things that men liked. And because they were things that men liked, the party of men are the problem, the I hate men problem, a party, basically said these things are wrong. And completely, like, the right didn't take those over. You evicted them. Like, this is what's freaking hilarious. It's like, this is like a I don't know, a train full of lunatics, and they keep just unhitching a car, and then it rolls away from them, and they're like, "Why is the right taking that?" It's like, no, you just got rid of it. You're just throwing these things out. You're refusing to acknowledge that they're legitimate because men like them, and because they're no longer acceptable to you, and you've pushed them out. Now you call them the right. That's the entirety of their political behavior. Is something men like, so they're like, no, this is unacceptable because men like it. So we have to either control it or destroy it or do something, shame it, and it's not part of us, right? Because we're the I hate men party. So you push it out, and then it's outside of you, and you call it the right.
Oh, and yeah, for sure. Yeah.
This guy's just like, why is this happening? Because
either that or he's trying to, like, I think that he's doing it because he wants men in under this umbrella, voting for them because they want to be effective. But I also think that, because look, he's got a book in the background that's called The Squad. It's like literally the AOC book. So he's obviously like a fan of that. But I think he's also trying to be pragmatic in saying, look, we need men on our side. And maybe if I frame this as the right are taking our men away, how do we get them back? Maybe I'll get like somewhere with that. But of course, the women are like, why are they leaving us? They're not supposed to do that. They must be bad.
They're not allowed.
So,
we don't have to get them back. They have to come back. So we can
they have to come back
again.
because that would make, otherwise they're bad people.
They should come back so we can kick them out again.
Yeah.
And then when we kick them out, we'll call them far right. Like, this is the logic of the party of single women. They kicked out men, and because they kicked out men are now on the right.
Yep. Okay.
Try to politicize them and pull them in their direction. Well, they had an entire political movement that you may be familiar with that was organized around all of us coming together and making the world a better place. And young men were a central part of the Bernie Sanders campaign in 2015 and 2016. And Democrats decided very explicitly, strategically, and deliberately to make the fact of young male support for Bernie Sanders a problem for Bernie Sanders.
I remember covering this.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is pretty much it. This is ground zero for this, the party of I hate men.
Yeah.
Kicking men out, kicking actual, like, I know that socialism it doesn't work. It profoundly doesn't work, but you could consider it something like some kind of principle. And they kicked them out because those men were holding to a principle instead of just realizing that they were there to submit to women.
Yeah. All right, let me see if I can find where they start arguing a little bit more. Let's see. So yeah, because he goes into like Bernie Sanders and then like Hillary Clinton. I don't really care about that stuff. Let's see. Don't see. Look at how angry these toxic men are. I'm reading some of the transcript. Then in 2020, it's still up for grabs. And Joe Rogan, even with Barry Weiss on his podcast, says he's going to vote for Bernie Sanders because of all the things that Sanders says he's going to do. Yeah, Joe Rogan did say that. Oh, wow. Build now an actual working class coalition and drive Trump out of the White House and actually deliver an agenda that works for everybody. Blah, 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 blah. So now Democrats are like, what happened to young men? Okay, so 1506.
Well, didn't they say something about Joe Rogan being, we need the left Joe Rogan? It was like, yeah, he was the left Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan was the Joe Rogan of the left. Well, he's always been kind of a centrist, like
but
wishy-washy guy, because he's like pro-guns, and if he has a good interview with someone, he'll just like, advocate for them to be president. But he's like not easy to pin down in terms of what he believes.
Okay.
But he was the closest thing to that, yes, and they excluded him.
Yeah, and then they pushed him out, and then they said he's on the right. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Basically, all the right and the left
much.
is are they part of the tribe and are they not? That's it. And they're constantly pushing people out of the tribe. So it looks like the right is consuming the world to them. But it really is just a function of them constantly pushing people out of the tribe. This is what happens when unchecked femininity hits politics.
Yeah, for sure.
Completely
100%.
unaccountable, nobody femininity
100%.
hits politics.
Yep.
Okay.
Audience against Democrats. And so now Democrats are like, what happened to young men? Why don't they like us? So both things happened. There was a push and a pull, and I can't do anything about. I can't do anything about the pull. The right wing is going to do what the right wing is going to do.
Yeah, the right wing isn't actually as male focused as you think it is, but regardless, I mean, honestly, if you push out everything that men like, anyone who has a relationship with a man, because now if you're married to a man or even in a long-term relationship, you are a far right. Marriage is far right. Okay? Maybe if you even have sex with a man at this point, you're far right. Right. So if you push out everything that even vaguely touches or has a whiff of the man, then the right is not pushing. The right is not pulling these. You are 100% pushing them out. Okay.
All right.
We can counter their ideas. We can argue with them. We can try to present and model like better behavior and model a life that will be more fulfilling, rooted around kind of community and dignity and justice. But that's all.
Notice, but like no mention of things that men want, like family and children, because he can't say that. He can't say that because if he says that, then he sounds far right. And he's saying it around these women who are like, well, what are you saying? Women are just vehicles for babies. So he has to say things like community and justice. Yeah, justice. That's right.
All we can do. But on the Democratic side, what you can do is stop the reflexive bigotry towards men. It's not making fun of the idea that it's okay.
But they can't. Dude, look at this.
They're about to respond. Yeah.
Okay. The foxes are going to explain to the chicken why they can't stop eating chickens.
Yes.
Talk about it. Half of the country in that way.
I really want to talk about that idea because I think you are essentially implying that high school boys are a protected class. And I cannot, under any regard, see them in that way because I and my peers have faced an intense amount of sexual harassment, sexual violence.
Okay.
This subgroup of people. And
Yeah. Do you want me to let her talk to more before you jump in on that? I don't think she's going to use any stats. She's just going to say it happened, like she's just asserting things.
Oh God, I'm gonna tear her.
Let me finish. Let's finish her thing.
Okay.
It's to imply that calling this group out, this group of young men out for their bigotry is in itself.
Oh, she's really going for the bug-eyed filter, isn't she?
A little reprehensible to me.
Okay.
So
No. You are full of shit. Of course, nobody talks about these stats, but millennial women, which I think you are one of, or a Zen, actually, no, she would be Generation Z. Yeah, this is probably worse for Generation Z. But millennial women and Generation Z are 2 to 3 times more likely to use weapons to rape than the men of their generation or any previous generation. And I use that particular stat because people are like, well, all the, and coercion and blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, it's pretty black and white once you draw a weapon on someone and force them to have sex with you. And that's what your generation of women is doing at phenomenal rates. I don't know when we're going to start to give a shit about it. When the number of women that use weapons to rape is like 25% of all women, 35, 45, 95. When do we start to care? Well, anyway, the trajectory is upward. So no, you are not going to have the right to condemn boys for something you girls are doing more of. Right? And then the other thing that's really horrifying is that attitudes towards male victims of sexual assault, particularly by women, are getting worse in her demographic. So not only is she more likely to rape someone at knife point than a young man of the same age, she's more likely to laugh about it and think he deserved it than previous generations of women. So as this generation gets worse, the women in this generation get more sexually predatory, more sexually exploitative. They excuse their behavior even more. And feminism enables all of it by pretending that the real problem is men doing this to women. Meanwhile, the rates of women raping men are skyrocketing. This is reprehensible. She talks about, talking about the bigotry towards men is reprehensible when they're the ones. This is reprehensible. Because it is an aspect of bigotry towards young men to constantly insist they're the ones doing the majority of the raping. When we can't. At the most honest thing, and actually, honestly, this isn't, if you want to be really lily-livered and cowardly about it, we could say we don't know. But we certainly can't say what she's saying, which is that young men deserve a label of being sexually violent predators. And because there is a minority of young men who engage in this behavior, which is smaller than the minority of young men or young women who engage in this behavior, but because they exist, all young men deserve to be subject to crass bigotry that we wouldn't tolerate against any other group of people. What she is saying, and yes, I know other people are putting the words in her mouth, but the mouth that they're coming out of is hers. What she is saying is morally bankrupt. Everything she says is morally bankrupt. This entire landscape, this entire political side, the party of single women, the party of I hate men, the party of we blame men, or the party of men have constructed society for their own benefit at the expense of women, and the tools that they use to do so was rape and beatings, that party, absolute moral degeneracy. Degeneracy might be the wrong word. Absolute moral catastrophe these people represent. Absolute moral catastrophe. Absolute moral catastrophe for our entire freaking culture. That they are allowed to continue to assert this vicious nonsense against half the human race. And shock, that's the half that's actually keeping them in light and heating and internet. Oh.
Yep. So she said calling a group calling a group of young men out for their bigotry is in itself that calling that bigotry. So when she says, when you call me out as a bigot, you're being like, because I'm calling men bigots, that's actually reprehensible. So that's what she
Yes.
said before I paused it.
Why not call out the behavior? Like, there is no other group in which you would call out a group for the behavior of some. Like, we have, yeah. What?
But
Okay,
yes,
hate on them too. Good luck building a coalition.
but it's not.
You can have it. Like, you guys are done.
honestly,
You're not
like-
fixing this. You're
Yeah.
not fixing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're not.
Ryan Grimm, you're cooked, bro. You're not fixing this. These women will never allow it.
We have built a coalition based on expressing,
But there is a problem with let's okay, stop this for a second. There is a problem with the not left. And the problem with the not left is they don't like the effect of this crap, but they aren't ready yet to embrace the solution, which is to blame the ever-living fuck out of women.
Yeah, sure.
I blame you for the shit coming out of your mouth, lady. I blame you for increasing the problem. I blame you for perpetuating a hateful, bigoted narrative about men. And you deserve to be blamed for it. And women like you deserve to be blamed for that and for the effects of that. You are contributing to this monstrosity. Okay, let's finish off. Sorry, this is really raising my blood pressure.
Yeah, it was annoying me too.
I've got a freaking migraine now.
A broad phenomenon here that all white people might not participate in. But
Okay, wait. Did we just jump to white people?
She's using it as an example to compare. Because look, Allison, the truth is she's a black woman. So she's got to cash in on two things, right? She has to cash in on being a woman and on being black. That's how this works. This is her hand. She's got two pair. She's gonna play them. Okay.
Okay, let's go back a bit.
You can't run from this because that's what these people do. If she was gay,
100%.
it'd be three of a kind. So what I'm saying is she's gonna use this, but it is to sort of pivot back to the male female thing. We have to let this play out. Okay.
But
for some reason,
just a sec. I 100% understand what you're saying, Brian.
Mhm.
And I just want everybody to notice how she's using this to buttress. Why not just talk about the male female thing? No, she pivots to white and black.
Right.
Because it's buttressing the inability to really argue the male and female thing. And I just wanted you to go back a little bit because I want, before she begins.
Okay, I did. I went back a little bit.
Yeah, I want everybody to watch what these people look like. Okay.
Let me just go right here.
that of course it's not every single white person, but we're talking about a broad
wait, no, you did move
phenomenon
forward a little bit. So go back another 30 seconds about, or 20 or 10.
In
or
those
whatever.
contexts, if someone pops up and says, well,
No,
not
it's
all
still,
white
you
people-
jump forward.
No.
like 30.
This is before because it's later.
Okay.
Just let it play.
understand that it's a sort of a
Exactly.
derailing tactic. That of course it's not
Exactly.
every single
So see, she's saying it's a derailing tactic to
It's a
bring up
derailing tactic.
men. To bring up men,
Okay.
and she's using the not all white people thing as a proxy or another example of how saying what about the men is derailing.
No, but
away
what I
from
want
women.
you to do, if you're okay with this, is I want you to go back to when he was talking, because I want to see like when he was speaking about this. Watch
Okay.
their reactions.
All right.
Luck building a coalition.
But it's not. But we have built a coalition based on expressing, like calling out the behavior of white people, of men, based on their implicit bias, based on structure.
They don't have implicit bias.
It has.
Men
Well,
do not have implicit. Women have implicit bias.
Yes, they're projecting.
This is just an outright lie. And look at her grinning up there. some serious duper's delight
It's
going on.
working. It's working. That's what she's saying.
Been successful. It's
In
just
what way? In what way?
Yeah, well, Ryan, I think Ella is right. I think that part of what caused me to bristle.
So, wait. So it's working. All right, men are leaving, but it's working. So what is making men leave the point? Because that's what's working here, lady.
Well, no.
Oh, we're here to talk about
that,
why men are leaving the Democratic Party. And he's like, well, because you're hateful towards men. And she's like, but we've built plenty of coalitions with men engaging in hatred towards men. But why are men leaving then? Like,
yeah. Well, that's the thing,
succeeding.
though. To her, the coalition is just about like maintaining purity.
Yeah.
And the purity, which is a never-ending journey, by the way. And so when she sees that her coalition is calling men and white people out, or whatever, all of the groups that you're supposed to call out, I guess, she sees that it's working, even though the obvious consequence of that is that they're losing people.
It's an ever-ending search for coziness, like ideological coziness. Yeah. That's what this is. Okay.
Dean Domino gave us a super chat for $9.99. Thank you, Dean Domino. And he said, not trying to be a doomer, but not sure how we get out of the blaming men loop. Argument always ends with men let feminism happen. They enforce it since women are weaker, therefore blame men.
Well,
we blame women.
Yeah.
A lot,
like that's it.
And we do it ruthlessly. That's what you do.
Like you just have to do that.
You basically say you're adults, right? Like patriarchy, what? Men let feminism happen. Like, no, feminism was, yes, women allowed it. They went for it. They used it. They benefited from it. So
that's the deflection on the other side for we don't want to blame women. Yeah, you do that because you're a coward. You say, oh, but men are responsible. No, because you just don't want to blame women. And honestly, you're asking, well, how do we solve the problem of crawling? Get up and walk. That's how you solve it. You get up and you walk. And I don't know, I don't know how to get maybe it's not clear to me how to get the rest of the world to get up and walk and just be okay with blaming women as much as they're okay with blaming men. But I do know one thing. You have to do something different in order to create any sort of change. So that's what I'm doing. Okay? All right.
Yep. Okay. Anyway, I don't think we need this time code anymore because
they go into pivots
draws the same analogy, like, not all men is like saying not all white people or whatever. So we'll go to let's see, the criminal justice reform analogy. So it's like right here, actually.
Needs.
And as you know, I've spent a lot of my career covering criminal justice system and criminal justice reform.
Yeah.
The speech that you just gave could have been delivered by a, what would you call it? Anti-criminal justice reform person.
Okay, no, he could be delivered by a bigot against any other group. So essentially what he did is you mentioned, well, you're blaming men for the behavior of a criminal minority. And of course, that is the behavior of any bigot towards any group. They identify some subset of that group that does something that they don't like, and they say the entire group is responsible for it. That's what feminism does to men. She pivoted to white people, although I'm not exactly sure what exactly specifically white people are doing to black people, because we're not talking about crime. Yeah, so she uses that to be like, oh, well, white people are all responsible for privilege, white privilege. So men are all responsible for male privilege. That's why we are going to smear them with the same brush as criminals. Let
me go back a little bit for some backup context, because there was something that the speech that he's saying that he refers to is here, I think.
One of this is like I saw several versions of this tweet in response to this controversy where people said like, why was this statistic? Why was one group, one gender liking marriage more than the other gender not a quote unquote crisis? And when it was women wanting marriage, more than men? Why is it just?
Well, it was because we constantly got on men's cases being shallow for not wanting marriage as much as women. You didn't notice that? I seem to recall that. In fact, that was a big argument for men's objectification of women.
Always been a thing. We've always shamed men for not getting married.
Well, during the Great Depression, they actively discriminated against bachelors who didn't have a wife for jobs. And that's been consistent throughout all of human history. Yes, there's been significant discrimination against bachelors, and it's worse than the discrimination against spinsters. Because bachelors, being a bachelor could get you killed because people would exclude you from the ability to maintain yourself financially because you didn't have a wife, especially in difficult times. But a spinster was expected to be taken care of by her family. Right? So yes, the stigma against bachelorhood has always been high and extremely aggressive. It's just we've never pointed it out because we don't see men in terms of being victims of social pressures. All right.
Right.
There's another genre that says, look, for years, it has been a meme. It has been a trope of television that marriage sucks, women are ball and chain, marriage
whatever.
Is for a man.
Here's me referencing pop culture things. This is real life.
Sitcom has some, a man rolling his eyes at his wife because she asked him to take on some childcare responsibility.
That's insulting the man.
Yeah, that's insulting the man.
It's literally what feminists say men do, and then they depict what feminists say men do, and she's like, I can't believe that they do that.
It's almost like the entertainment industry is on your side, and they're just affirming this stuff with their content.
Yeah.
Like, they're literally not something that men generally like.
And now you're mad that women don't want to continue to be victims and are asserting themselves. How is this?
Continue to be victims of what? Marriage?
She's saying that victims of I guess of marriage. Yeah. 31. I mean, I'll just read it.
It's funny because I'm pretty sure.
And now you're mad that women don't want to continue to be victims and are asserting themselves. How is this not how it's taken? How is this not akin to asking the victim of an assault or a victim of racism or a victim of all the social asymmetries that we know to suddenly subordinate their own fight for equality and desire to escape? Well, I'll play the rest of it.
Asking the victim of an assault or a victim of racism or a victim of all of the social asymmetries that we know to suddenly subordinate their own fight for equality and desire to escape victimhood.
Literally, marriage is victimhood for women. Like it is victimizing women, guys. There's no recovery. There's no recovery from
that she's saying that women fought for anything that men didn't give them. Just the idea that they were like, we fought for this. Did you though? Or did you just ask and then men said okay?
Yeah, well, like men always do. Like
literally, men always do.
This is
like,
the
did you really
of the
fight
human
them?
race.
Like, did you fight them, or did you just complain and whine, and the men were like, okay, fine?
Yeah, but that's really like the history. Like, this is not unusual. And yes, you're right. And within their own framework, because they propose that men use rape and domestic violence. And I asked Perplexity, okay, and I do ask AI. I said, if feminist framework was true, that men use rape and domestic violence, and don't affirm me, keep your answer neutral, don't just be sycophantic, would feminism have ever worked if men use rape and domestic criminal actions and violence to suppress women? No, it wouldn't. So if you actually agree with their framework, their result would never have. I asked for the probability, and it's like almost zero, the probability that a society in which men genuinely used violence, consciously, freely, and with intent to subordinate women, used rape and domestic, they would never concede. They wouldn't feel the need to concede to women at all. And no, the history of the civil rights movement is not a counterexample to that, because Black people didn't appeal to the white people that were oppressing them. They appealed to the white people with a completely different culture of the North, with a completely different economic model, right? That's how it worked. No one in the history of humanity has appealed directly to their oppressors for succor, for to get rid of their oppression. That doesn't happen. Okay? So it's an absolutely ridiculous framework, and you're absolutely right, Brian. There is no way within the feminist framework of reality that feminism would have worked, that men would actually give all of this stuff to women. If they were, why wouldn't they just beat and rape women into submission? Why would they give them the vote? Like, why wouldn't they just use their tools to continue to silence women? They didn't do that. Not in any great numbers like that you would require in order to uphold say that society is upheld by these activities, right?
Yeah.
So it's a complete, like it is its own counter argument. But then the other thing is that human society, if you actually look at it, the way it works is men innovate something, they take the risks to stabilize it until the point where this new phenomenon is credit, universities, I don't know, trade routes, like like the Templars making pilgrimage routes safe, men building the system to create credit, men building universities, right? Men settling the West. They go out there, they take the risks, they make it so whatever the situation, anybody who actually engages in that system, space travel, anybody who wants to be part of it is now going to get more benefit than they risk. And then women are onboarded. The end. That's the way human society has worked for eons. That's how it works. That's how it do. And that's exactly what happened with feminism. With what feminism's demands or women's demands in the 20th century. Right? Men stabilized everything. Men stabilized. You notice that women asked for the vote once generally asking for a vote didn't get your head lopped off?
Yeah, sure.
That took a freaking long time. There were a lot of uprisings during like the 17th and 18th century in which peasants would ask for the vote and then they'd all be slaughtered. Women weren't a part of that. They waited until it was all a bureaucratic matter rather than a head lopping off matter. And then they were onboarded. That's the way it's worked throughout all of human history. And feminists want to appropriate that and pretend that they did it. They did not. Okay.
All right, let's listen to we're going to get to the criminal justice reform argument that happens.
And sublimate that to their attacker, the person who victimized them's emotional needs.
And as you know, I've spent a lot of my career covering criminal justice system and criminal justice reform.
Yeah.
The speech that you just gave could have been delivered by a what would you call it? Anti-criminal justice reform person, verbatim.
No, it couldn't, right?
You're asking the victims of crime to subjugate, to like subsume themselves to the broader. You're talking about these.
He's got a void cat too.
Yeah, he's got a cat.
Yes,
And
you
you're
can
saying
deal with root causes of crimes. I don't ask the rape.
Shut up, woman. Let him speak.
What?
Let him speak. Shut up, woman. Let him speak.
Oh, yeah.
Let him cook.
Criminals like people talking about the root causes of crime.
Yes, we can
And you're
talk about
asking
all of that
victims
without asking
victims
the
of crime.
victim.
No,
of
that is the number one argument that was
No,
always
I'm
made.
not asking a victim of crime to say their rapist shouldn't be punished. That's not the point of criminal justice reform. The point is not to say that there shouldn't be accountability.
That is the
it's
argument
to talk
that
about
was being made.
No, but Ryan, I don't even speak for you, Ella, but it feels like we're just skipping over the accountability.
Yeah, you know what it is? Can I just summarize this? They want to hate men. They want to hate on men. They want to blame men. And that's it. And he doesn't want them to do that because he sees that as pushing men away from the set of political ideals that he thinks that this mess of tribalism still has.
Yes. and
And
he's
honestly,
trying
the
to
only-
like he's trying to make trying to put it in a way that she can see it. So he's talking about criminal justice reform, and he's basically saying you are treating men in the same way that, you know, our oppressive police state, whatever he would describe it, treats you know, criminals. And it's he doesn't think it's fair, because a lot of criminals are, you know, they don't need jail time, maybe they need, you know, other things, community service, you know, psychological help or whatever. We should, he's one of these guys that would advocate to send social workers to the subway to deal with a psycho with a knife. That's what I'm saying. He's that kind of guy, and he's just putting it in that framework so that she can see she can see what she's doing, but she can't see it because when he says criminal, she immediately goes to male rapist and like victim blaming, but like in how women are affected by that, you know?
So he's basically saying that well what they're doing is they're using the existence of male criminals to justify harming other men.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Anyway.
I think that
I
criminal
just said there
justice
should
reform
be
is
accountability. Like, you know, that's
but what does it look like? What does it look like? At what point? How should young boys like the ones that Ella went to school with be held accountable?
There is no.
They are held accountable for their own actions. What the hell are you talking about?
She's saying there's no accountability. This Ella person down here.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Absolutely freaking bullshit. There's no accountability. There's no accountability for you as a young woman and your sexual violence, but there's sure as hell accountability from young men. It's right there in the arrest and conviction statistics. What do you think those look like? Honestly, if these statistics, and these statistics are bearing out, if women engage in sexual assault at the same rate as men, and there is substantial research now, the most credible research suggesting they do, then the arrest and conviction statistics show a very stark story. Men, young men, all men, are held accountable, but women aren't. And don't give me this crap like your educational institutions also don't hold these men accountable. That's not what she's talking about. That's not the accountability she wants. She wants the fact that there exist young men, like, you know, they're not the largest percentage because her group is the largest percentage of violent rapists, but there exist some young men who engage in that, and she wants the existence of them to justify group punishment of all young men. That is actually, that's what she considers men taking responsibility. These people are sick.
Mm-hmm.
And if you speak out against that, you are a misogynist.
All right, let's listen to some more. We're almost at the end of this time code.
Burning hatred.
Zero.
Mm-hmm.
This is burning hatred. This is a cesspit of burning hatred.
Yeah.
Like, at what point? How should young boys like the ones that Ella went to school with be held accountable?
There is no social accountability for.
Yeah,
there is zero social accountability.
Right. What does social accountability mean?
We need like.
No, he's not. He's misunderstanding what she's saying. She's saying there's zero social. What the hell does social accountability mean?
She wants them censored. She's pro censorship.
Group punishment. Well, it doesn't matter what the punishment is.
Some kind of like way to ostracize, isolate, censor, shut down, you know, cancel. That's what it is. I mean, that's what she's calling for. And I'm not like taking out of context like she says it. And this guy's like, well, I don't think that's the answer. Because, you know, he's a man. So he's still like, nope, that's not a good idea. I don't like that. But the women are like, nah, let's do it.
Yeah,
let's cancel all the men.
Let's do it. Group punishment. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Collective punishment. Exactly.
That are showing what is acceptable and strong and good behavior. And that behavior outside of that.
So many role models.
But that's not accountability.
Behavior outside of that is.
That's not accountability still. There are so many
accountability
role models for young men. I mean, like, it's not a question of, oh, should there be more role models? It's a question of, oh, like, this is a social problem among young men where they can't.
Okay, so this literally, this bitch, sorry, I don't care. She's talking somebody else's talk. She's part of the problem. She's going to take responsibility for this. She is saying that because there exists a small minority of young men who engage in sexual violence of any sort or sexual bullying, of course, we're just going to ignore the fact that there's a much larger proportion of women her age who do that. Let's just ignore that. But because there exists this small proportion, men should be subject to social accountability, which is collective blame and punishment.
Mm-hmm.
This woman, she is the face of fascism. Well, no, not fascism, because fascism is government and corporate collusion. She is the face of every genocider in human history, the beginning of it.
Yeah. All right.
Collective punishment.
Oh, for sure.
Because it's just not that important to them to empathize with women.
What the fuck does that even fucking mean?
The more of this I do, the less I empathize. I'm not gonna lie. The tank is low. The tank is very low.
What the?
I just have like you guys and my wife, and I think that's basically it.
Yeah, maybe some of the women at your church, I would imagine.
Yeah, the people at my church are fine because they seem like human females.
What the fuck is that?
So,
collective blame. All right. So while we're doing the collective social responsibility, they're socially responsible for the criminal minority, and they don't empathize with women.
Mm-hmm.
You are forcing them to take responsibility for something they've never done. And that is going to be emphasizing with you. Okay, you guys are cooked. Unbelievable. I don't know, like, I know there are still single men who still vote Democrat, but
yeah, but they're usually doing it because they think it's going to benefit the women in their life. I mean, I think that's why they do it. Like they think it makes them good men. So yes, they will do that from a position that they see as logical. But I think that they're all getting pushed out at some point because that's just where this goes. It's a purity spiral that doesn't have.
Somebody says
it has an ending, but it's it's not going to be pretty. So.
Botch TV says, just because some men engage in violent behavior doesn't mean that all men do. Every time a guy points out bad behavior on a woman, and woman is like, but not all women. Yeah, and you should probably say, yeah, maybe not all women, but all women get away with it. There you go.
There you go.
All right.
Next time code.
It's not their responsibility, and go ahead and say whatever you want. I'm just saying, like, if you want to end this, if you want to fix this, if you want to change it, like, at least be open to the possibility of it, and don't mock the idea that boys and men's feelings like matter.
Ryan, are you?
I'm going to be honest.
What are you kidding? Let's wait. Let's listen. Try not to react. Okay.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, Ella.
Ryan, a lot of my female peers do mock the idea of male loneliness.
I know they do.
At the end of the day,
absolutely know they do. We hear it all the time. We hear it from you all the time.
But you know what we hear more? So it's difficult to take the idea of male loneliness seriously when I know what's driving the misogyny epidemic isn't male loneliness, it's misogyny. It's the pre-existing hatred for women.
What the fuck was that argument? So I don't have to care about men's emotions because of misogyny.
Because they're mad at me.
Because they're mad at you. Well, they're justified in being mad at you.
Okay. Let's keep going.
I mean, these are social
No.
constructs.
Men are socialized from birth to hate women.
Okay, here's the epicenter. He's like, this is a social construct. Bitch, don't you get why the way that they're using this? They're not using it as a social. They're hand waving it because social construct means you don't actually call it out as the bigotry it is. They're using this as a bioessentialist label. How do you get rid of your masculine ideology? The answer is you can't. You can only ever constantly submit to feminists. It is a bio label. Like that is what they're doing. They're saying that you're born criminal as a man.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh, but what? It's socialized, right? Well, they're going to demonstrate to you. Okay.
Yeah.
He's like, there has to be a way out of it. There's a way, like we can somehow change
this guy
it.
is starting from the premise too that that men are becoming radicalized and that women, like, these people are not helping, that they're like part of that problem. I don't think men are becoming radicalized. I just think that he sees it that way because he's in the party of hating men and everything manly or masculine is bad. But he is at least saying, you know, I think we're making this worse. And these women are like, impossible. We couldn't possibly do that.
Well, that would be blaming women and not me.
Yeah,
my
you can't
behavior.
blame women. That's like, you can't do that.
And like,
literally, actually, wait just a second. That is the problem, isn't it? Because if men are leaving this party, you have to literally say, this is a bad thing. And of course, who is to blame? The behavior of the women in the party and the men who just sycophant to them, right? They're just engaged in sycophancy. So, but the framework that we need to appeal to men by doing anything, that is absolutely outside of their moral understanding, because it requires actually recognizing how things affect men, even in a purely instrumental way. Like, I don't want to do this because it's going to cause us to lose. They don't want to do that. I don't even know if they're capable of it. These two people do not understand that men have feelings.
Yep.
They have too many ways of dismissing that fact to understand that men have feelings, and that those feelings should dictate their actions occasionally. Right? That, a lady down here shouldn't rape a man at gunpoint because that'll make him feel bad. No, she can't recognize that. She can't even recognize the possibility of it. Right? Because that would be to recognize that things happen to men. Those things can sometimes cause negative things to happen to men, and you are responsible for those negative things in certain circumstances. If you're just insulting a dude, that's maybe a bit more his problem. But if you're raping him at knife point, that's a you problem, right? And if you are presenting this demonizing narrative of group blame, that is also a you problem. So to even conceive of what this man is saying, they have to accept that women can be blamed and men can be blameless, is what I'm saying. And that is so far out of their constellation of understandable thought that it's just not going to happen. So it's like watching a man try to explain to a rock the process of walking. Hey there, Mr. Boulder. I have 2 feet.
Yep.
You're not going to get anywhere with it. Okay.
All right.
Pre-existing to what? Time immemorial? I mean, these are social constructs.
Men are socialized from birth to hate women.
From birth by who?
True, Ryan.
Since
Like,
when? Since when? Like,
since always.
It's worse because it's worse.
The dawn of time.
It's so much worse today than it was
what's
even
making
15
it worse?
years ago. And there has not been a change in humanity in like the
But there
fundamental
has
nature.
been. There has been. It's called feminism, Ryan.
Not in,
the change in humanity is that women.
Whoa.
Thank feminism for giving you your right to vote. Otherwise, stop
No,
voting
no.
and get me a ham
This is
sandwich.
fascinating. Okay, so he's saying it's worse, like misogyny.
A
So
ham sandwich has entered the chat.
this socialization is worse now, and she's saying it's because of feminism. So what she's saying
No. He's saying, okay, how long, like how long has it been, like how old is sexism? And he said it's a social construct, and they agreed with him. And he's like, but okay, so men have hated women for how long? Because she was like, since birth, and then the other woman was like, since time immemorial, since the dawn of time. So they're contradicting themselves because obviously that's what women do. So that on the one hand, it is a social construct, but it's also not, because it's been around since the beginning of
the
time.
dawn of time.
And that things, and he's like, so things have not gotten better. And she was like, well, yeah, they have, but only because of feminism.
No. I think he's saying things have gotten worse. Go back. Let's listen. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll eat my hat.
They're talking over each other a lot. So
constructs.
Men are socialized from birth to hate women.
It's true, Ryan.
Since-
Like,
No, it's not.
Like
Since
it's
always.
worse because it's
Since
worse.
the dawn of time.
It's so much worse today.
Yeah, see what he's saying?
Making it
15 years
worse.
ago, and there has not been a change in humanity in like the
But there
fundamental
has
nature.
been. There has been. It's called
Not
feminism, Ryan.
not in
You see what this mess is?
That women
Okay, stop
are
it. You
able-
got to untangle this mess. So he's saying she's saying men are socialized from birth by who to hate women? By who? The mythical mind rays of patriarchy, right? I mean, if it's gotten worse, the only thing that's changed about families since like 50 years ago is more single mothers. Okay. So, and then she says since time immemorial. So for all of human history, since time immemorial, men have hated women, been socialized to hate women. But this isn't a bioessentialist category, guys. Just crosses species lines as well. But then he says, but it's gotten worse. Right? She says that's because of feminism. And I'm guessing she's about to say is that it's gotten worse because of backlash to feminism.
Perhaps. Yeah.
They don't rely on men. This isn't Jane Austen, and I don't need a man who makes 400 a year.
Like 10 to 15 years ago, like no, the charts are collapsing at a much higher rate than like women entering the workforce.
So
15 years ago, Me Too had just been born. Like,
that's true
No,
too.
much less than that.
Well, I mean,
7 years ago.
10 years
No.
ago.
God,
Yeah. So to what do you attribute that Ryan? What do you think the rapid shift?
I think it's the right wing. It's the right wing socialization. Like it's the conscious right wing culturalization.
And by that you mean it's the way that
he can't blame. He's going to blame the manosphere. So this guy's not an ally. He doesn't like. Look, he's saying this guy sees men as a tool. That's it. So he's like, look, I just want to be effective and getting men on our camp. And in order to do that, we have to fight against the programming of the far right, which is not happening. This is why he can't solve the problem, because no one's doing this to men except these people. They're pushing them out.
Yes.
They're saying, we don't need you. We don't want you. And the men are like, okay, just like they've always done. Okay, then we'll just go over here. And now this guy's like, we need to get them back. And like, well, they left. Fuck them. You know, they didn't put up with our abuse. They just left. Like they're the enemy, dude.
Not even,
like,
it's not even put up with their abuse. They literally kicked them out.
Yeah, and he's like, but I want to win
floor.
elections. And men are like, you will never win an election with us ever again. And these women are like, well, fuck you then. And he's like, why? So yeah, and he's not our friend. He wants men for votes. And that's why he's like, well, it's got to be those dastardly far right guys are doing something that we're not doing. We got to copy their tactics. Literally, they're not doing anything except talking about like the reality. Like this is like what they hate about guys like, Tate and Fuentes is they are saying red pill things. And they just happen to have like enough reach that it looks like they're the only ones it comes from. Peterson says some pretty red pill things sometimes too. I know it's going to piss you guys off because he's not like red pilled enough for you. But the truth is he has saved men from suicide. He has done a lot of good, full stop. He's a net positive. Okay. But the point is that because those guys are high profile, these people go after them because they only go after people that they see as high profile, not necessarily people who are the most effective or the most based. Okay. So that's the reality. And that's for them, it's all about winning. That's what they care about. They care about winning. And these women, they care about excluding men, or at least like forcing them to comply and support them unquestioningly. That's how they see it. Right. And he thinks that's not a winning strategy. But none of these people are friends.
Like literally what they want from men is impossible. They want men to remain inside this longhouse while being outside of it. Right. And it's like, yeah, well, okay, that's not going to work. So you shove men out and they can't remain inside if you shove them out. And then he's like, well, how did the right do this? They didn't do it. But the other thing is he correctly identified how they shoved out Bernie bros. Do you not notice that this is what they've been doing for everyone? That doesn't completely coalesce with their particular cozy politics? Like it's basically you either accept the cozy politics, my cozy politics, which means nobody can disagree with me because that makes me feel bad, or you get the choppy chop and you get kicked out, or you get exiled. And
Yeah.
like he's like struggling with this, but he recognized this with Bernie Bros. That's what they've done with all these men. They've literally shoved them out of the longhouse, and then they blame them for no longer being in the longhouse. And then they also said, well, why did Republicans do this to us? Good luck. Good luck with this ball of fuck.
They don't have a solution. They can't, because it doesn't fit. I think it just fundamentally does not fit with their philosophy. That would mean they would have to listen to men and actually listen to them. And they're not prepared to do that. They're just trying to figure out how to win. And they think men are useful for that end. So
that women are young women are being treated so poorly.
Yeah.
How?
The manosphere, all of the things that Ella pointed to, I think are a driving.
Right,
cause.
but I was asking, what is driving women's disinterest in marriage, young women's girls' disinterest in marriage?
You
say it's the manosphere, but
it's feminism, though.
Yes.
That's what's driving women's disinterest in marriage and family. Is feminism. It's Sex in the City. It's Euphoria. It's all the fucking TV they watch. It's social media. It's influencers. It's Manifestel. You know, that's what's doing it. It's not men.
Yeah. What the hell? Like, there's $1 billion industry driving all this. And there are members of this industry, seminal lights of this industry, that said, this is specifically what we're doing. We're destroying the family.
Yeah, and feminism, they said it explicitly. So how does this woman think, well, why aren't men interested in like,
you know what's really funny?
And these women on this show somewhere, I forget where, but they actually say, I think they say it on here, that they're not gonna have kids and not gonna get married. So they're literally like doing the thing that is causing the situation, and then they're like, why is this happening? Do you just want men to approach you so you can turn them down? Because I could see that.
Well, they probably would argue that they don't want to get married and have children because men are so awful. But the thing is that they have been subject to a gigantic campaign saying that men are awful.
Yes.
So it's like, well, okay, where did this come from? Why do women not want to marry? Why do women think men are awful? Because that's what literally feminists in like the 70s said, how can we define the relationship between men and women to benefit feminism? And then we let them do that. And now this, like, and literally feminists have said, we want to destroy the relationship between men and women. You have outlined your plan to get women to not choose marriage and children. Okay. You've outlined your plan. You have enacted your plan. The plan is successful. And now you're saying, how do we blame men? Actually, you're not even saying that. You're saying men are to blame.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, it's the women's disinterest. So what's driving them?
Okay. I'm going to say one last thing.
How they're being treated by men. Right?
So she thinks women are disinterested because of how they're being treated by men. No. That you caused the problem. The problem bears the fruits that you wanted, and now you're saying men did this.
Yes, that's exactly what I said.
That's what you've done. All right. Let's just do the last time code, because we've gone for like 2 hours, unless there's something else.
Yeah, there is one other thing I wanted to say. All right. So not only have they done that, not only are they now blaming men for what they themselves did. Can you guys see how blaming men, because you have such an aversion to blaming women, has to be challenged, or this will never go away, and this will destroy our society. Like, if people have said, well, it's not that big a deal. Like the birth collapse crisis is not that big a deal. We could stand to be a smaller population. Yeah, maybe that's true. But at some point we have to actually stabilize, which means we got to solve this. Otherwise, it's just going to basically go through our entire birth rate like a knife through butter until no human being is having children, except maybe the Amish. Maybe. But, that's not going to be a lot of people on this earth, and we're never going to get off it either. Okay. So I think that we need to solve this. just to even have a future with a lower population. Okay? We need to solve this problem. So we need to be able to blame women, and we need to recognize that sometimes men are not to blame.
Mm-hmm. All right, last time code. This guy leaves early, not because he's angry or rage quits. It's just that he can't stay for that long.
Kinds of moments.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of perception, that we perceive it differently. I think from one side, people think like, oh, the men and boys are just completely coddled all the time. On the other side, they think that they get no grace whatsoever, and are the only group that isn't allowed to be part of,
verifiably,
a social construct.
No grace.
No grace. Yeah. So they
she
find
says
this.
she gives them no grace.
Yeah, nobody gives them grace, and this woman, of course, Brianna Gray, says this is absolutely absurd. Let's see.
Brian, in a man's America, it's a man's world. No grace. You guys are still running every single thing.
How this is
No grace.
like you can get nowhere in that narrative.
And they're all miserable.
Oh,
And they're all miserable. Yeah. Maybe you're wrong. Have you considered that? Have you considered that if you're looking at symptoms that are the opposite of your prescription or what your diagnosis of reality is, then maybe your diagnosis of reality is wrong. If I say to Lindsay, oh, I think that you have like, I don't know, I think that you have a head cold, and you obviously have like a sinus problem, and she just like collapses from fucking lung cancer. That means that I didn't have the correct diagnosis because I wasn't looking at the tumor in her chest, and I didn't see that as part of the problem. Oh, that's just like a fatty corpuscle. I don't know. Like it's just not a good diagnosis. And they're just like, no, this is the diagnosis. So everything has to match that. These are our conclusions. And this guy's like, yeah, but why are men unhappy if they have all the power? Oh, because they're whiny bitches.
why?
You guys are at the hands of your own destruction.
Okay, all right, lady.
Men did this to themselves. See,
Why did they do this to themselves? Because are you going to honestly say that men are so stupid that they constructed a system to keep you in absolute chains since the dawn of time? I believe that's what she said.
Mm-hmm.
Men have managed to conspire to keep women, the very people who raised them, under their thumbs since the dawn of time. And yet they're so stupid that they can't use that to benefit themselves. Patriarchy is so stupid that even though it used rape and domestic violence to keep women in line, it has never occurred to it to just simply kidnap and force women to marry outside of war, which is not what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with a peaceful society. It's never considered that. That actually makes sense. Like that would be something that you might consider in war, in like the Bronze Age, to just go and steal a bunch of women and force them to marry you. But for some reason, our patriarchy that uses horrific violence against women to get what it wants has never thought of that, and instead chooses to live in misery, respecting women's consent. Funny, isn't that? Yep. I mean, not even just misery but even worse misery, because it's forcing itself to underwrite. Like they're forcing men to pay taxes to give women even more things, more opportunities to consent to things. Like before, you would consent to marriage. Maybe there would be economic pressures for both men and women, but regardless. But now you can actually have an opportunity to be a single mother, to be single completely, because let's face it, male industry gave these options to men. You can be a wife, but not a mother. That option is there too, right? You have all of these options that patriarchy has given to you that biology did not give you to you, lady. Mother Nature is like, no, bitch, you give birth and you raise those damn puppies, right? That's your purpose in life. That's what Mother Nature said to you. But patriarchy came along and said, I think women should have more options. they should be able to live. They should be able to be educated and in very, very time invasive, no, like very things that take a lot of time to do, which takes a lot of time from reproducing. I think they should be able to have jobs. I think they should be able to, and before there was all of this, air conditioning and comfortable, exciting jobs, they could go in home and do jobs by the hearth and be safe, right? Patriarchy basically took the shit deal that Mother Nature gave human women and turned it into a buffet of wonderful life options. And these women are like, and at the expense of men. That's the other thing. Men have to pay taxes to underwrite that in a society that only very recently stopped actively discriminating against them when they didn't have wives, when they weren't supporting a family as bachelors in terms of earning, or in terms of having jobs, right? Our society forces men to underwrite all of these lovely choices, does not give equivalent choices to men. Even if a man is raped, he is obligated to pay for the child his rapist decides to give birth to, right? So all of this buffet, all of the misery to men, and she says, oh my God, you just suck. Yeah, you're right. Men really suck at creating society to benefit men. They're really good at creating a society that gives a plethora of options to women, though. That Mother Nature was not. Yeah, if women were still subject to Mother Nature, their life would look vastly different than what it looks like now, thanks to men. Which men underwrite, which is why they're more miserable. Because they thought, lady, unbelievably, men thought, well, if we liberate women from needing us financially, then they will truly show us how much they love us.
Mm-hmm. All right, there's a little bit more, but this is the last one. This is the end.
Exactly. That's the whole point. We have a common enemy here.
Not me. I'm doing great. Point single women.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan, I'll let you go. Do you want to tell?
So he's like, oh, we have a common enemy, I guess, like the right. And she's like, no, I'm fine. Like, basically, I don't need you, men. Point single women. So, yeah, I guess these people have no idea. Women. They have no idea. When enough men check out, all of this shit is gone. Like all of this internet and electricity and plumbing and, your buses and your military and your cops and your fire departments and utilities. It's all your fucking phone. Like, it's all gone. You have no idea. You're so ungrateful. It's amazing. And well, whatever. I mean, like, you brought this on yourself. I know people who are pretty good at homesteading, and they're gonna be able to weather the storm just fine. They're not even Amish, and you're just not gonna be okay. So, but that's it. That was basically all the time codes.
God damn. So basically, he's just talking about he's trying to get them to. I mean, we could just do a whole show on just the things that he talked about and how they're sort of wrong. Although the fact that he is a void cat too gives me a little bit of sympathy for him.
Sure.
Void cats represent, I
just don't think that he actually has men's interests in mind. Like, if I said, well, here are the things men are concerned with, I don't think that he would take a lot of that on.
Well, maybe he would
come across as far right, because a lot of men want to get married to a woman and have children.
You said
so
earlier,
what are you going to do about that?
You said earlier that you have to, encourage them where they are at. That expression tells me that he's learning.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah, he is realizing that there's nothing you can do in the face of this. They are actively enjoying. They're doing a victory lap over men's failures. And I'm just like astounded, because I know guys tend to really like feminine women. This is what they're actually like. Like, a lot of them. This is the mentality that they have.
I don't know. I think they look feminine, but I don't think they are feminine. But
I don't think they're masculine either.
No, they're not.
They're just feminists. But I'm just like, this is their attitude. And maybe I shouldn't call out like femmes, although it seems like they're at the root of all of it. But it's just like they just don't. How could you be credited with so much empathy? And you look at the faces on these women as they snidely just laugh about the problems facing men. And they don't even care. Like it'd be one thing where they were like just, hard calculating people. And they're like, oh yes, maybe we should care about this because we're going to lose if we can't appeal to men on some level to vote for our position. But no, even the fact that this is like stupid evil. There's evil that's cold and calculating and pragmatic. And then there's stupid evil. These women so love the thought of men being harmed that they're willing to cut off their own fucking hands to see it done. They're willing to damage their own cause to see it done. To sit there and smirk about, oh, men, they stick it to the men. We're going to make them take collective blame for what a minority of them do. And incidentally, I actually got, again, grok. I know everybody said AI, but you just make sure that keep it neutral and tell it not to affirm your answers. To estimate, and this is what it's good at. I asked it to estimate how much time men spend policing, bringing to justice, prosecuting, and punishing men who engage in crimes against women versus how much time do men spend engaging in those crimes. 37 times more time men spend policing men's behavior towards women than they do in engaging in anything negative towards women. In fact, they spend more time policing women's negative behavior towards other women, far more than women do, right? And she wants men, apparently the only sex that believes it's really critical to police their behavior towards the other sex, she wants them to bear collective blame for the minority of men who engage in criminal activity, who are basically a symptom of our license for women. Because let's face it, if we got rid of single motherhood, that would be 90% of crime gone right there, which includes a lot of crime against women. Right.
Yep.
So because we allow women to have that option to raise children without father's input, we endure a lot of crime, including a lot of crime against women. And men will police that crime. Right. And that's the predominant thing that men do. They are far more likely to police their criminals than engage in any kind of criminal action against women. And yet men still have to feel guilty about the behavior of criminals in their number. The criminal men, the minority of criminal men. Oh God, my voice is cracking. This has been some serious rage bait for me.
Yeah.
This is
look, we've gone for like 2 hours and 15 minutes.
I know, but it's like
we had other things, but we can do that another day for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we could just. How long's the video of the guy who's in the UK Parliament who's talking about being sexually assaulted?
It's 2 minutes and 20 seconds.
I mean, I guess it's relevant to this woman, but it'll inspire more talking, so maybe not.
Yeah,
I
feel
thought
like
I would bring it out.
That's gonna have a conversation.
Just briefly, one of the Labour MPs, Josh Newberry, talked about how he was raped 10 years ago. Well, of course, it's not rape in the UK, but he was raped by a woman who used drugs, or it might be a man. I haven't watched it specifically, but anyway,
his drink was spiked or something. So
yeah, his drink was spiked. So that's how he was victimized, or that was how they got him into a state where he could be victimized. And he did this in public at the UK's Parliament. I think it's Parliament. And I wanted to talk about it because I thought it was really important that male survivors actually talk about this stuff and get rid of the stigma against that, because they're going to continue to use this stuff. They're going to continue to use crimes that women engage in too to force men to take collective blame. And that is it's morally bankrupt. That's all I can say about it.
Yeah.
I'm glad these two are staying single and aren't having children. All right.
Well, for now, that'll probably change at some point when the wall comes. But yeah. So go ahead. You want to do the things, and then I'll do the things.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
If you would like to send a comment, I was really quiet on the comment front today. I wonder if everybody's gearing up for like Thanksgiving. You can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. That's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Very much appreciated. I won't be doing much shilling of the fundraiser just yet. I'll wait till the end of the month when it becomes more critical. But thank you to everybody who's supported so far. That is Coran Strong, Richard Bier, and Spiky Helmet Badger. So big thanks to you guys. And yeah, pretty soon, I guess in not this week, but the Sunday after this Sunday, we'll be doing another Beat Saber. And if you want to support, feedthebadger.com/support. Keep a look out for that Beat Saber fundraiser. And maybe I shouldn't have announced it so early. But anyway, feedthebadger.com/support if you want to support actually blaming women unapologetically. And like people are like so upset with me when I say I blame women. They're like, do you really want to use the word blame? And I'm like, yes, because once you soften it, then you start conceding to women's feelings. And that never ends. So yes, I blame women and you can't stop me. All right, back to you, Brian.
All right. Well, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notification, leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today. And please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you so much for coming on today's episode of Maintaining Frame, and we'll talk to you guys in the next one.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.